The story you're about to hear is the real case of Amber Hagerman, which happened in 1996 in Texas.
The summer sun was bright and warm in Arlington, Texas, on January 13, 1996, a day that should have been filled with laughter and carefree childhood adventures. But instead, it became the last day anyone would see 9-year-old Amber Hagerman alive. The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass, and the neighborhood buzzed with the soft hum of families enjoying the gentle winter sun. Amber, full of boundless energy, was the kind of child who could light up a room with her laughter. That Saturday, she had one simple plan: ride her pink bicycle in the parking lot of an abandoned Winn-Dixie grocery store, just a block from her grandparents' home. It was a place she had been to many times, a place that had always felt safe. But as fate would have it, the innocence of that day was about to be shattered forever. Amber's little brother, Ricky, watched her ride in circles, her dark hair flying in the breeze, her giggles echoing off the cracked pavement. She was carefree, lost in the moment, not knowing that danger was lurking close by. As Ricky pedaled home ahead of her, Amber remained behind, pedaling just a little bit longer, the joy of freedom glistening in her eyes. Suddenly, in an instant, that joy turned to terror. A black pickup truck roared into the lot, and a man leaped out. In a swift, brutal motion, he grabbed Amber, kicking and screaming, and threw her into the vehicle. It was a scene so shocking and swift that it felt like a nightmare no one could wake from. A single, helpless witness, a man washing his car just across the street, watched in horror but was powerless to stop it. The man who snatched Amber was never identified. He vanished with her as if swallowed by the earth itself. For the next 4 days, the entire city of Arlington became a city of searchers, haunted by the desperate cries of a family's heartbreak and the echoes of a little girl's last laugh. Flyers with Amber's smiling face were stapled to every pole and taped to every window, her innocent eyes staring out with a silent plea: "Find me." Volunteers combed every field, every creek, every dusty alleyway, their hearts pounding with both hope and dread. The police scrambled for leads, following every tip, every shadow. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how many times they retraced their steps, Amber was nowhere to be found. Then, on January 17th, the horror reached its unbearable climax. A man walking his dog along a creek bed stumbled upon a sight that would forever scar the community. There, submerged in shallow water, was the lifeless body of Amber Hagerman. Her pink bicycle, once a symbol of carefree innocence, stood abandoned and silent, a grim reminder of all that had been stolen. The killer had vanished as suddenly as he had appeared, leaving behind only a shroud of grief and 1,000 unanswered questions. The story of Amber Hagerman would go on to shake the very foundation of how America responds to missing children. It would inspire the creation of the Amber Alert System, a beacon of hope and urgency for every family in crisis. But on that cold January day, none of that mattered. All that remained was a tiny girl's stolen future and a family left with only memories. The days following Amber's disappearance were a blur of fear, confusion, and heartbreak. Her family, once secure in the belief that their neighborhood was safe, now found themselves thrust into a nightmare they could not wake from. Donna Norris, Amber's mother, could barely recognize the trembling voice that escaped her lips as she pleaded with reporters, her eyes hollow with a mother's desperate hope. "Please, please bring my baby home," she begged, her voice cracking with the weight of unspeakable grief. The community, too, felt the raw sting of loss. Neighborhoods that had once been friendly and open now felt like war zones. Every car a potential threat, every stranger a possible monster. Parents clutched their children's hands a little tighter, glancing nervously at the shadows that seemed to creep ever closer. The police worked tirelessly, their radios crackling with updates and dead ends. Tips poured in, each one a fragile thread of hope. Witnesses described the man as white or Hispanic, in his 20s or 30s, with dark hair. They spoke of a black pickup truck, old and battered, but that was all. In a city as large as Arlington, it was a needle in a haystack. And with each passing hour, the fear that Amber was slipping further away grew heavier. Detectives retraced every possible route, searched every abandoned building, and knocked on every door, their hearts burdened with the knowledge that time was their enemy. Yet no matter how hard they tried, the man who had stolen Amber seemed to have vanished into thin air. For her family, the waiting was a cruel form of torture. Every time the phone rang, Donna's heart would leap into her throat, praying it was news of Amber. Every time it wasn't, the disappointment was a fresh wound. Her father, Richard Hagerman, refused to give up hope, pacing the floors of their home, haunted by memories of his granddaughter's bright smile. He spent hours with the police, offering any detail he could think of, no matter how small. Friends and neighbors rallied around the Hagermans, bringing casseroles and candles, offering comfort that felt hollow in the face of such overwhelming loss. Churches held vigils, their pews packed with people who prayed for a miracle that would never come. On the fourth day, the call came. Amber's body had been found in a creek bed just a few miles from where she was taken. The news shattered what little hope remained. Donna collapsed to the floor when she heard her wails of anguish filling the small home. Richard fell silent, his face ashen, the weight of his granddaughter's death pressing down on him like a mountain. Amber was gone, her laughter silenced, her future stolen in the blink of an eye. But even as the family's world crumbled around them, they refused to let her death be in vain. In the dark days that followed, a seed of hope was planted, a determination to make sure that no other family would ever have to feel this kind of pain again. Amber's funeral was a heartbreaking scene of innocence lost and collective grief. A tiny white casket, adorned with pink flowers, was carried down the aisle by family members who struggled to hold back their tears. The church was filled with friends, neighbors, and strangers, all united by the tragedy that had claimed the life of a little girl who had barely begun to live. The air inside the sanctuary was thick with the scent of lilies and the heavy weight of unspoken sorrow. Donna clung to a small teddy bear, a gift Amber had treasured, as she sobbed quietly, her tears soaking into the soft fur. The pastor spoke of hope and healing, but his words were drowned out by the chorus of quiet weeping that echoed through the room. As the community mourned, the case that had shattered their peace remained unsolved. The police continued their investigation, but without witnesses or solid leads, the killer had melted into the shadows. The only clue was that battered black pickup truck, a ghost that haunted every neighborhood street. Parents kept their children close, and every stranger was met with wary eyes. The story of Amber's abduction spread far beyond Arlington, carried by news anchors and reporters who repeated her name like a prayer. The entire country watched as the search turned into a memorial, and hearts broke for a family that had lost its light. But even in the darkness, something extraordinary was beginning to stir. Donna Norris, driven by a mother's unbreakable love and a resolve born of unimaginable pain, began to ask why there hadn't been an immediate alert when Amber was taken. She imagined how different things might have been if everyone had known to look for that black pickup truck the moment her daughter disappeared. She knew she couldn't bring Amber back, but she was determined that her little girl's death would not be in vain. Donna took her grief and turned it into a mission. She started calling lawmakers, news stations, and anyone who would listen, demanding a system that would send out immediate alerts when a child was abducted. She faced countless obstacles and endless red tape, but she refused to give up. Every time she spoke Amber's name, she felt her daughter's spirit beside her, guiding her forward. Her determination caught the attention of local radio stations and law enforcement agencies, and soon, the seeds of an idea began to grow. The Amber Alert system was born out of Donna's tireless efforts and a mother's unbreakable resolve. Named after Amber Hagerman, it was a promise to every child and every family that no more little lives would be stolen in silence. It was a siren call that pierced the night, a bright light in the darkness, a legacy born of loss but fueled by love. Amber's story would forever be etched into the nation's memory, a haunting reminder that even in the face of tragedy, hope can rise from the ashes. The Amber Alert system was launched with a sense of urgency and resolve, a direct response to the senseless tragedy that had stolen Amber's life. It was a collaboration born from heartbreak and hope, uniting law enforcement, broadcasters, and communities in a common cause to protect children before it was too late. The system worked by sending out immediate alerts across radio, television, and electronic highway signs, broadcasting the details of a child abduction to everyone within reach. The first few alerts felt like a beacon in the night, a glimmer of something powerful that might have made all the difference for Amber. For Donna Norris, every new alert was both a balm and a wound, a reminder of the daughter she lost and the lives she hoped to save. She poured herself into advocacy, speaking at schools, town halls, and conferences, her voice shaking but unwavering. She talked about Amber's laughter, her love for riding her pink bicycle, and the nightmare that had stolen it all away. Each time she spoke, she forced herself to relive the horror of that day, but she did it for the children whose names she would never know. The children she prayed would come home safe. As the Amber Alert system spread across the country, it brought with it a measure of comfort to families who had once felt powerless. Parents learned to look for those alerts, to memorize license plate numbers, to become vigilant protectors of the children in their communities. It was a network of watchful eyes and caring hearts, a silent army that refused to let another child vanish without a trace. In the years that followed, thousands of children were safely recovered because of those alerts, each one a testament to the power of a mother's love and the determination of a grieving community. But even as the system brought hope to so many, the haunting question remained: who had taken Amber Hagerman? The black pickup truck became a ghost story in Arlington, a symbol of the darkness that could strike without warning. Rumors and theories swirled through the years. Was it someone she knew? A stranger who had watched her from the shadows? The mystery was like a wound that refused to heal, reopening every time another child went missing. For Amber's family, there was no closure, no final chapter that could bring peace. All they had were memories of a little girl who loved to sing and ride her bike, and a world that had been forever changed by her loss. The Amber Alert system became a living memorial to Amber, a legacy that grew stronger with every child brought home. It was a testament to the power of one voice, one story, and one small girl whose name would never be forgotten. In every alert, in every parent's vigilant gaze, Amber's spirit lived on, a light in the darkness, a promise that no child's disappearance would ever be met with silence again. As the years slipped by, the weight of Amber's unsolved case lingered like a ghost in the town of Arlington. For Donna, the ache was a constant companion, an emptiness in her chest that would never heal. She often found herself standing in front of the small shrine she had built in her daughter's honor. A photograph of Amber beaming with innocence, surrounded by stuffed animals and candles that flickered softly in the twilight. Neighbors still stopped to place flowers or notes of remembrance, their presence a quiet promise that they too would never forget. Yet for all the love and support that surrounded her, Donna's heart was forever trapped in the moment Amber was stolen. Every January, the community gathered to honor Amber's memory. Vigils were held near the creek bed where her body was found, the air heavy with the scent of candles and the murmurs of shared sorrow. People whispered her name like a prayer, their voices trembling in the cold night air. Each year they hoped for answers, for closure, but the man who had taken Amber remained a phantom. The black pickup truck haunted the town's collective memory, a shadow that seemed to grow darker with each passing year. Amber's younger brother, Ricky, struggled to find his place in a world that no longer felt safe. As he grew older, the memories of that day played over and over in his mind. A cruel loop of his sister's laughter and the sudden violence that had taken her away. He would often ride his bike along the same streets they had once played on, the empty lots and cracked sidewalks echoing with memories of a happier time. But no matter how far he rode, he couldn't escape the feeling that the man who had taken Amber was still out there, watching, waiting. Detectives never gave up on the case, but as the years wore on, their leads grew cold. Files thick with witness statements and faded photographs sat gathering dust, the pages yellowing with time. New detectives would take up the case, driven by the same determination that had consumed those before them. But they always seemed to circle back to the same dead ends. Theories multiplied. Some believed the killer was a transient, a drifter passing through town. Others were convinced it was someone local, someone who had watched Amber for days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Through it all, Donna refused to let Amber's story fade into obscurity. She spoke her daughter's name with fierce love, each syllable a defiance against the darkness that had tried to erase her. She worked tirelessly with advocacy groups, pushing for stronger protections for children, using Amber's story as a rallying cry for change. In her heartbreak, she had found a calling: to be a voice for the voiceless, to ensure that no other mother would have to feel the same suffocating grief. In the end, Amber's legacy was more than just a system of alerts. It was a testament to the power of community, of a mother's love that refused to be silenced. The case may have gone cold, but the memory of a little girl riding her bike on a sunny Texas afternoon would forever burn bright, a reminder that even in the face of unspeakable loss, there is strength and there is hope. In the quiet hours of early morning, when the world seemed to hold its breath, Donna would sit at her kitchen table, staring at the worn-out photo albums that held the fragments of Amber's short life. Each page was a bittersweet treasure. Amber's gap-toothed smile on her first day of school, her bright eyes lighting up as she tore open birthday presents, her small hands clutching the handlebars of her beloved pink bicycle. The images were frozen moments of joy, but for Donna, they were also a cruel reminder of everything that had been taken. She would trace Amber's face with her fingertip, whispering promises to the daughter who would never grow up. The house, once filled with the sounds of children's laughter, now seemed too quiet. The halls echoed with memories of footsteps that would never return. Ricky tried to fill the void with his own laughter, but the weight of what had happened to his sister was always there, heavy and unspoken. On nights when the memories became too much to bear, he would find himself at the creek bed, the place where Amber's life had ended. He'd sit on the cold ground listening to the water rush past and wonder why the world had been so cruel. Outside the family's home, the community continued to hold Amber's memory close. The old Winn-Dixie parking lot, where she had been taken, became a symbol of both heartbreak and hope. People would leave flowers there, small pink bicycles, and notes that said, "We remember." The pavement was cracked and faded, but it had become hallowed ground, an unofficial monument to a little girl whose laughter had been stolen too soon. Detectives still carried Amber's case file with them, a constant reminder that some stories are never truly over. They spoke in hushed tones about the killer, about the black pickup truck that had vanished like a phantom. New technology and fresh eyes occasionally brought a spark of hope, but it always seemed to flicker and die out, leaving only questions that had no answers. For some, it became an obsession, a puzzle that haunted their dreams. For others, it was a grim reminder that evil can lurk in the most ordinary places. Amber's story became part of the town's DNA, woven into every whispered warning and cautious glance. Parents who had once felt safe letting their children roam free now held them close, their eyes scanning the streets for any sign of danger. The innocence that had once defined Arlington was forever lost, replaced by a wary vigilance that never truly went away. But in that same town, amid the fear and the grief, there was also a quiet resilience. Donna's voice, once trembling with grief, became a rallying cry for change. She spoke to lawmakers, to community leaders, to anyone who would listen. She demanded better protections for children, and she refused to let Amber's name fade into history. In the face of unthinkable tragedy, she had found a strength she never knew she had, an unbreakable resolve that would carry her through the darkest of nights. As the years turned into decades, the landscape of Arlington slowly changed. New stores replaced old ones, and children who had once been sheltered in the aftermath of Amber's abduction grew up and started families of their own. Yet, no matter how much the world moved on, the memory of that bright-eyed girl on her pink bicycle refused to fade. Amber became more than just a child lost. She became a symbol of the precious fragility of childhood, of the innocence that can be stolen in the blink of an eye. In every parent's cautious glance and every child's nervous question, her story lived on. The Amber Alert system, born from the ashes of tragedy, became a national lifeline. It was used in every state, sending out urgent messages in the crucial first hours after a child's disappearance. It saved lives. Thousands of children were brought home safely because of those alerts. Each success was a quiet victory, a silent tribute to the little girl whose laughter had once filled a quiet Texas street. But for Donna Norris, the victories were always bittersweet. Every time she heard an alert, her heart ached with the knowledge that, for her, there would never be another chance to hold Amber again. The black pickup truck that had taken Amber became an unsolved riddle, a phantom that drifted through police reports and haunted the memories of those who had tried to catch it. Over the years, countless tips came in, some credible, some the desperate imaginings of people who wanted to help. Each time a new lead surfaced, hope flickered anew. Perhaps this would be the break, the clue that would finally bring justice. But the years had a way of dulling even the sharpest memories, and one by one, each lead dissolved into dust. For Amber's family, the grief never dulled. It became a part of who they were, a quiet ache that lived beneath every smile and every family gathering. Birthdays and holidays passed with an empty chair at the table, a silent reminder of the little girl who should have been there. Donna would sometimes find herself lost in thought, imagining what Amber would have looked like as a teenager, as a young woman. She pictured her daughter's laughter, her bright eyes filled with the promise of a future she never got to live. Yet even in their grief, the Hagermans found a way to honor Amber's memory. They poured themselves into the work of keeping her story alive, speaking to anyone who would listen, reminding the world that behind every alert, every missing child poster, there was a family desperate for answers. Amber's name became a beacon, a symbol of hope that shone through the darkness of loss. And so the story of Amber Hagerman became something more than a tragedy. It became a testament to the enduring power of love and the strength of a community that refused to let her be forgotten. The black pickup truck, the cracked pavement of the Winn-Dixie lot, the quiet creek bed where her life ended, all of it became part of a story that would echo through the years, a story of a little girl who vanished, and a mother's vow that her daughter's light would never be extinguished. In the decades that followed, the name Amber Hagerman became more than just a memory. It became a call to action, a symbol that resonated far beyond the borders of Texas. Each time an Amber Alert lit up a phone screen or blared from a highway sign, it carried with it the echo of a mother's cry and the face of a little girl who never got the chance to grow up. Amber's spirit became a guiding light for those who refused to accept the darkness, a reminder that even the smallest voice can spark a revolution of change. Donna Norris never stopped fighting. She traveled across the country telling Amber's story with the same raw honesty that had first broken hearts and inspired change. Her voice grew stronger with each retelling, her message clear. Every second counts when a child goes missing. She spoke with lawmakers and police chiefs, with parents and teachers, her words weaving a tapestry of both heartbreak and hope. Through her efforts, and the efforts of countless others who had been moved by Amber's story, the Amber Alert system grew to become a lifeline that stretched from coast to coast. For the children who were brought home because of those alerts, Amber's legacy was a second chance at life. Each time a missing child was found safe, it was a quiet victory for the family that had once gathered in a small Arlington home to grieve a little girl with a pink bicycle and a bright smile. Amber's name became a promise, a vow that no child would ever be forgotten, that no mother would ever have to stand alone in the face of unimaginable loss. But the man who had stolen Amber remained a ghost in the town's memory. His face, if it had ever been seen, was now lost in the haze of years, his identity swallowed by time. The black pickup truck became a symbol of both fear and mystery, a question that would never be answered. And in the spaces where answers should have been, only silence remained. A silence that spoke volumes about the fragility of safety and the darkness that can lurk in even the most familiar places. For Ricky, the pain never fully went away. He grew up with the burden of memories that no child should have to carry. He found solace in the small ways he could honor his sister, riding his bike along the same cracked pavement where she had once pedaled, talking to children about the importance of safety and vigilance, and refusing to let the world forget the bright-eyed little girl who had meant everything to him. Amber's story became woven into the fabric of American life, her name synonymous with hope and heartbreak, her legacy a testament to the power of a community united by love. In every Amber Alert, in every family that dared to hope, Amber's light shone bright, a reminder that even the smallest voice can echo across the years, changing lives and saving others. And though the mystery of her final moments would never be solved, her story lived on, an unbroken thread that connected the past to the present and promised that no child would ever vanish unnoticed again. As the 21st century unfolded, technology evolved in ways that would have seemed like science fiction in the days of Amber's disappearance. Cell phones and digital billboards became part of the Amber Alert network, ensuring that within seconds, millions of eyes could be watching for a missing child. It was a level of connectivity that offered a measure of comfort to parents everywhere, a small piece of control in a world that often felt anything but safe. And at the heart of this progress was Amber Hagerman, a name that had become a rallying cry for every child who might one day be taken. For Donna Norris, every technological advance was a bittersweet reminder of what might have been. She marveled at how quickly alerts could now reach people, how precise and immediate the information had become. She thought often of how different things might have been on that cold January day in 1996, if the world had been as connected then as it was now. But those thoughts, those aching what-ifs, were wounds that never fully healed. Still, she pushed forward, driven by a mission that had become her life's work, to make sure no other family would have to endure the pain that had become her daily companion. Amber's story also took on new life in classrooms and community centers. Teachers used it to remind children that even in safe places, they must always be careful. Police officers spoke of her name as they trained new recruits, reminding them that every moment counts when a child is missing. Candlelight vigils continued, their flickering glow a testament to a town's enduring heartbreak. And still, each January, the people of Arlington gathered near the creek bed where Amber had been found, standing in the chill night air to honor her memory and reaffirm their promise: never again. The man who took Amber remained a mystery. Over the years, advancements in DNA technology offered a glimmer of hope. Evidence from the scene was re-examined, run through ever-evolving databases, each new test a fragile thread of possibility. But with every test that yielded no match, the hope would recede, leaving behind the same gnawing emptiness. Detectives, some of whom had children of their own now, spoke of how the case haunted them, how they would lie awake at night, replaying the details, wondering if they had missed something. They knew that time was not on their side, but they also knew that they would never stop trying. For the families who had been saved by the Amber Alert, there was a profound gratitude. Parents whose children were found safe would sometimes write letters to Donna, sharing their relief, their joy, their tears of gratitude. In each letter, Donna saw the face of her own child, the face she would never stop seeing. She read those words as both a salve for her wounded heart and a reminder of why she had never given up. In every child brought home, she found a glimmer of the daughter she had lost. Amber Hagerman's name would forever be etched into the story of America's children. A story of heartbreak, but also of hope and unwavering determination. And though the answers she deserved would never come, her story was far from over. In the end, Amber Hagerman's story became more than just the tale of a little girl who vanished one sunny afternoon in Texas. It became a symbol of how a single voice can spark a movement that spans generations. Her name, once whispered in grief, became a clarion call for justice, a force that pushed communities to come together and demand better for their children. The Amber Alert system, born from the ashes of her family's unimaginable loss, became a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of those who refuse to let tragedy have the final word. For Donna Norris, the journey was both a crucible and a calling. She had set out to honor her daughter's memory, but in doing so, she had forever changed the way the world responded to its most vulnerable. Even as she grew older, her mission never wavered. She spoke at conferences and in quiet rooms with parents who shared her grief, reminding them that they were not alone. She became a symbol of strength, a mother who had turned her heartbreak into action, her tears into a promise that no child would ever be forgotten. As for the black pickup truck, it became a ghost that haunted the backroads of Arlington, a symbol of the darkness that can strike even in the brightest of days. Detectives, both young and old, carried Amber's case with them like a scar that would never fade. The man who took her was never caught, his face lost to time and the shifting sands of memory. But even in that absence, there was a power in the remembering, a refusal to let him slip away into the void, a vow that his crime would never be forgotten. Each year, as the anniversary of Amber's disappearance approached, the town would gather once more. They would light candles and share stories, weaving together memories of a little girl who had loved to ride her pink bicycle in the sunshine. Children who had never known her would listen with wide eyes, and parents would hold their children a little closer, reminded that the world can change in an instant. In that space between memory and mourning, Amber's laughter seemed to echo once more, a fragile, defiant spark of life. Amber Hagerman's story is one of loss, but it is also one of profound, enduring love. It is the story of a family that refused to let tragedy consume them, of a community that found its strength in the face of horror, and of a little girl whose name would become a symbol of hope for countless others. Though she was stolen far too soon, her light still shines, carried forward in every alert, in every rescued child, in every family that dares to hope. And so Amber's story lives on, not just in the quiet prayers of a mother or the memories of a grieving town, but in every heartbeat of a nation that has vowed to never forget. She may have vanished, but her spirit endures, a gentle reminder that even in the darkness, there can be light.